wonderful lectures in the morning from Master, and I'm really, really grateful. And what's more is that the messages are loud and clear, and it's getting to the point where all the stories and all the teachings are connected together in a very well-organized, every day paving the way for us to understand. I've always thought that the sutra itself was written for someone who perhaps in our layman terms, it's probably written for someone in the college level where we're all still in the kindergarten, where there's so many things that we can read it, you can see it and you can sort of read it, but you don't quite understand. It's almost like if you are not a math major, or even if you are, and you read the entire blackboard full of equations, you know the numbers and you know the characters, but you don't know what it's talking about. And that's what I always thought the Lotus Sutra and all the scriptures and sutras are doing. But through Master, I really get this huge appreciation that it was trying to make us understand the ease of all the things that are so difficult, and not to water it down and dilute it. No, that's not what I meant. But to make it so that we can understand and we can do it too. We can practice it. And I think that is the most important. It's not just to talk about it, but to understand it, to do it, and then to prove it. And I think that is the most important. So I hope that you all have that joy as well. And I hope you all have that realization that this is something that is very rare, very, very rare, to let you do it, see it, understand it, and hold it in your hands, because Dharma is not something that you can actually try to hold on to. So let's talk about for the previous week, the review. So last week we talked about the three characters that immerse in the Dharma fragrance. That's what the previous week was the main theme, that the three characters, Xun, Fa, Xiang, the three things. And the idea was that the immersion itself is an external factor. For someone who is not, who just joined Tzu Chi, for someone who is new, just a new initiative, for this Dharma, for the learning, you don't really know what this is about, but you like it. You come in here, you're seeking some kind of answer, and you sort of receive that joy, whether it's Dharma joy or it's any type of joy, but you like it here. You don't know why, but you like coming here. And the more you come here, the more that you're going to have the sense of smell leaving with you. The more you're in a room with a room full of flowers, you are going to get the fragrance of the flowers onto you. And that is just something that was going to happen. Okay. So that's called immersion. The immersion factor. It comes from externally. But the more that you are in there, the more that the fragrance is onto you, and the more that you feel that it's not really a smell that attaches to you, remember. It's more of a feeling where you are now having that on you, so then you would say, go home, and then you would share the stories with your loved ones, with your family. And that, in a way, is a transmission of this fragrance. It's not a smell, it's a feeling. So you're feeling happy, you go home and you make your family feel happy too, because you're happy. And you share that story. So that, in a way, is like the fragrance passing from one place to the other, where you are the one carrying it. But the way you carry it isn't just by the sense of smell. It could be the sense of feeling. You just feel happy. You didn't tell anybody of what you did, but you're happy. And people can say, well, you feel happy today. That's how it is. Or you can share the stories with your loved ones. And then you go like, well, I can see why you're happy because of so and so. So that's immersion. It comes from outside, and you don't know what it is, but you enjoyed it, you like it. And that's the first part. So Matt said that is why we need to keep it. Even if we don't understand certain Dharma, even if we don't understand everything we hear in the morning lecture, we continue to come, we continue to listen, because something about it attracts us, something about it that that draws you to it. You don't know what it is, and you are slowly changing, but you might not know about it yet. And that's called the immersion factor, the external factor. So that's immersion. However, the next part is called Dharma, Fa, and that's the internal factor. So when the things coming from outside has accumulated to a certain level, you become to realize that, hey, I want to do this too, but I don't know how. I want to also be like them, where they have this fragrance giving off to me. I want to be like them too. That's when the Dharma comes in. And Master tells us that all these fragrances or these feelings are analogous to the good and kind deeds. When you accumulate more and more, then it's going to be a place filled with this aroma and fragrances. So this is very important, because in order to practice Buddhism, we need to strive to, the most important thing is the Dharma comes from inside. And the inside comes from these 5 factors, which is upholding precept, Samadhi, wisdom, and the liberation of wisdom themselves, the 5 things. So Master told us that these are the 5 things where you can have the Dharma that comes from within you. And so, more importantly, in order for you to, it's no longer just the immersion of the external, like listening to the stories of the past does not do anything for you in the today's world. You can listen to all the sutra and scriptures of the past, but how would that help you in today's world? So the most important thing Master also tells us, that in order for you to, the reason why we're listening, preaching, and spreading the Dharma is because we need to adopt the Dharma to the now and the here, and to transform Buddhism to accommodate today's world and to treat today's illnesses. That's what we need to do. That's the most important part about listening, about the spreading of Dharma. So that comes from inside. Buddha from 2,500 years ago cannot tell you that you're going to face problem A, B, C of today. You need to listen and preach, listen to the Dharma and internalize it and make it so that it works for today's problem. Transform the true teaching that exists through all these millennia, and to be able to apply it to today's world. And that is important. That comes from inside. It's no longer immersion on the outside, but it comes from the inside. So the third part is called the fragrance. No longer are you just immersing on external fragrance, but you are now spreading that yourself. And that, I said last week, is the whole point about the Bodhisattva path, is that you have to learn it at first. You might not know it yet. Remember the Sutra of Infinite Meanings, that sometimes you're still trapped, but you have the vehicle to be able to transmit others onto the other shore. That's the same idea. You are now immersed in in the fragrance. You might not know everything yet, but now you know a certain part where it allows you to give off that fragrance to spread to other people. And that's the important part. So that's what we talked about last week. And very quickly, we go into this week's review. And boy, I'm telling you that everything is connected. Everything is following the footsteps that we understand. And Master adjusts the content according to how he receives our reaction to the teaching, so that she will adjust accordingly. Like, for example, yesterday might be a bit too deep. So today, the things are toned down a little bit. So let's go into this week. So it's a continuation of the entire story. Okay, we talked about Xun Fa Xiang, we talked about immerse in Dharma fragrance last week, but it's a continuation of that story. Why? Because the very first thing that the thing that we remember, okay, the thing that we remember was, how is the fragrance coming from? The fragrance comes from, number one, you need to be sincere. You need to be sincere, and it needs to be selfless giving for the benefit of sentient beings. And then you do this without asking for anything in return. These are the 3 things, the 3 key characters that Master talks about, that are very important. That what is truly the act of giving? It's called sincerity from inside. Selfless giving to the benefit of all sentient beings, 为利益众生. without asking for anything in return, and that's called 无所求, 付出无所求. So these are the three things that will give us this fragrance. Okay, so knowing that, Master last week talked about the Dharma wheel turning king. This 转轮圣王 is supposedly the very top, the king of the heavenly beings, that he had accumulated countless acts of utmost kindness and benevolence. This king had done so much good throughout so long the time, and was the role model for all sentient beings, and also it was respected by all. So this was talked about last week, and was talked about today, similarly too. But it was talked about last week. And the most important thing about that was that it's not enough. You did all these, but it's not enough. That is not enough to do all the utmost kind deeds and good deeds of benevolence. It's not enough. Why? Because Master said that even if you have done all the utmost kindness deeds, there are still traces of affliction. Master said it today too. There are traces of affliction. There are still parts of the king, parts of the heavenly beings that are still afflicted. They're still having this trace of affliction, meaning you're not enlightened yet. You're not at the level of the Buddha. You're still doing good deeds, but it's not enough. There's something there that is not making this go through with the enlightened needed to be for Buddhahood. Why? And so Master goes into detail explaining how and what we can do. So it's not enough to just do good deeds. Then what else do we need to do? So Master said, we cultivate blessings through benefiting sentient beings. That's what we talk about. Benefiting sentient beings, selfless giving without asking anything for return, and being very sincere. But Master said, we also need to foster good affinity with all and let them feel this Dharma joy. Remember, by doing, not asking for anything in return, by doing selfless giving, by doing everything sincerely, remember, it's only about you. You choose to be sincere. You choose to give and help the sentient beings. You choose to do everything without asking for anything in return. That's all you. But what about them? What about them? They are getting the help from you, but what about them? Are they getting the Dharma joy? Are they getting the feeling and the affinity with you at all? So the next step, it's not just about to give them the help, but also foster good affinity with them. Let them feel the joy and need to spread the Dharma. So everything you do, so when people are with us and interacting with us, they can see that every action that we do is mindful. So this is not just about you. This is now about others. The whole point about the Dharma Wheel King is that they are doing so much goodness to the sentient beings, but they're overlooking the very important fact is that there is a trace of this affliction that need to be overcome only when you begin to think about the receiving side. You need to have the wisdom to cultivate. How do you cultivate this wisdom? By thinking for others. What would they do? What would they think? How would they understand? How would they cultivate? How would they do what I do now? That's the last part that you need to go through. And remember, that's what we talk about. The Bodhisattva path. It's not just you do everything, but you have to teach others to do what you do. And then you have to teach others to do everything they do. That's called spreading. That's called the Bodhisattva path. So the Dharma Wheel King was only to the point where he did everything right, but didn't do enough. And what was that part? Is to make others do the same thing too. So that's why Master last week talks about this 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid. So this is the kid in Taiwan. His name is Bo Qian. And what he did was, he just sat there. And I remember seeing him for the very first time. He sat there quietly. And usually for a 4 or 5-year-old kid, that doesn't happen. you know, sit there right in front of Master, okay, very close to Master, sit there quietly, didn't say a word, and his grandma talks for, I don't know, 20 minutes. It was very long, and he sat there without saying anything. He was referred to many times, but he didn't say anything. He sat there quietly. And so when he began to speak, it was amazing because he only said what he needed to say. There were no extra words. There were nothing more. And then he shared what he did, you know, in the recycling station, you know, and did all the things, you know, picking up a screwdriver and you know, undoing some toys and things like that. He's very quiet. And so Master said that such Boqian, such pure-mindedness is in the past, becomes the seeds of benevolence of now. It becomes the seeds of now. And so Bodhisattvas are practicing the sixth perfection. Need to have this wisdom. Need to have this wisdom to interact with sentient beings, to encourage all to listen and practice as well. See, this is the part that keeps on getting repeated over and over and over, because this is the most important thing. Everything else that we do can still be done by yourself. But only when you begin to care for the others and how they feel and how they think, would you begin to practice wisdom. How would you be able to let others do what you do and let others see what you see? And that is very important. So Boqian Master said, because every moment, every word he says, every moment, whether working, whether walking, whether doing anything, whether it is action or still, every moment he is preaching the Dharma. And I think that's the answer, every moment. So I wanted to put this statement out here again. The pure-mindedness in the past is talking about what we have done. The pure-mindedness in the past becomes the seeds of benevolence of now. So that's what we have to do. We put in the seed now, and it becomes the seeds of benevolence. We become, you know, little practitioners like Hualien in the future. And that's what we do by starting now. But Master said, and this is what Master said, but ordinary beings are lost due to ignorant affliction. A single thought of ignorance, of affliction, and we are lost. And that's what ordinary beings are. And this is what Master said. But I feel that this is for ordinary beings. But I believe this. Practitioners should be enlightened through compassion. One thought of compassion, any thought, a single thought of compassion should be the beginning of our enlightenment. And I think that's what Bodhisattva path is about. So a thought of ignorance will cause us to be lost. Then on the other hand, a thought of compassion should be the beginning of enlightenment. And that's what Master has been trying to tell us. Yes, look at the heavenly beings. They are doing all the good deeds out of compassion, but they're not going far enough. Master is telling us, you need to go far enough. You need to go further. Don't stay there and do all the good things, do all the things only, but go further. And that's what Master talks about today. Master talks about the volunteers coming from Kaohsiung, what they have done, and they do more because now they are not just helping others, but they're grouping themselves and they're introducing new people and letting them understand you need to help others and letting them know about the Dharma. So Master last week talks about the Burma relief. Using this only as an example. She said, you are now helping nearly 50,000 households, 50,000 families are helped with our distribution this time. And if I'm thinking, if there are 4 people in the household, you're talking about 200,000 people being helped by you. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of lives and a lot of families. And in the future, you know, next generation, who knows how much further this is going to affect, how much this is going to impact. But the point is, Master said, if you're working together, 和和互协, and everybody was joyous, then this will be very complete. It will be very yuanman. It will be very perfect. But if while you're helping these 200,000 people, and there's infighting, and there are points where people don't agree with others, and there are infightings, and there are arguments and disputes. And then she's not saying that it's happening here, but she's just saying that if that were to happen, then this 200,000 people, they were helped. You helped them, but you didn't help yourself. There's no wisdom growing. There's something missing. There's traces of affliction still within there. So the answer is Samadhi. And the answer was in yesterday's morning lecture. And that was what Sister Xiaoqing asked last night. There was a different study group and wonderfully asked this question where I didn't know how to answer, because I didn't know the answer then. But as I was going through, I really think that if we can, we should really, go back to yesterday's and study deeper. The answer was in yesterday's, but today, Master talks about it more. And the reason is because of this. If you're doing all the acts of giving, if you're doing all the deeds of goodness and kindness, but you don't have the time to sit down and reflect, you don't have the time to sit down and think about this, and to reflect, what have I done right and what have I done wrong? What is the...
Saya 2 kali.
Okay, I think we have to... okay, is there some way that we can... Okay, good, thank you. I think it's mute now. Okay, so I think the answer is Samadhi. And the idea is that you can do all the things. You can do all the things that is supposedly right by the textbook. You follow everything that the Buddha and Master tells you to do. But if there's no contemplation, if there's no self-improvement, if there's no place for you to sit, if there's no place for you to think about what you have done in terms of affinity, what you have done in terms of trying to get others to learn the Dharma, and what you have done to think about the past. Why is something happened to them and not me? Why is this happening to me? What have I done in the past? If there is no process to do this, then you will be just doing. Then you will still have that traces of affliction left, even if you do all these kind deeds, but it will still not have enough wisdom to help you break through, to help you overcome. And that's why Master said, 超越, overcome many times. You need to overcome. It's not just about the heavenly beings. Master said it today. The heavenly beings, they have done so many good deeds in the past that allows them to be born, to be birthed in the heavens, where they can enjoy, where they can really feel all the good things. But other than that, if they don't know how to cultivate the next step, then they would, when all the blessings are done, then they would just come back to human realm or go back to the other realms. The important thing is for you to be able to, and this Samadhi is not telling you to be in meditation. It's not telling you to meditate in a trance. It's not telling you that. It's telling you that you need to know what you're doing. You need to know why you're doing this, and you need to know how to make others do the same thing. You need to remember the affinity. You need to know that we're affecting others to do the same thing too. You need to know that this is not about you only. This is about everyone. Cultivating, transmitting this idea to everyone else. And that's the key. Otherwise, you will be helping 200,000 or 200 million people, yet it will not make that big of a difference. You would just be like one in the heavenly beings. When the blessings are done and over, you would just fall right back in. So that's the idea, and that's the answer. So that's my sharing for today. And I want to save some time for the questions, because I think they are very relevant to what we talk about today. So let me first go through question 41. It's a bit out of order. So, oh, actually, it's not this question. I'm sorry. It's this one. Question 40. I got the wrong question. Question 40. So the question was, in formless heaven, okay, so there is the 欲界, 色界, 无色界. So it's supposedly talking about the 无色界, the formless heaven. Understand that the heavenly beings there practice purely, do that mean that they are already well cultivated and will not fall to lower realms like hell or hungry ghosts? So the formless heaven is like pure lands. And the answer is no. So we already know from today that there are different levels of heavenly beings, and there are sort of still very levels of cultivation, and each level of cultivation still requires the breakthrough to the next level. Only when we're reaching the complete level of enlightened, that will we now be able to be free to travel. But remember, even for someone like the Bodhisattva, they are able to travel across the realms because of their will and because of their vow. So, however, when the blessings are done and when the blessings are used up, like what Master said today, then they will still have to answer to the karma of their past. And that will actually always exist whether you are enlightened or not. Just like the Buddha himself, he is already enlightened, but he still has to face all the fruits of the past seeds that still has to happen. And so that's very similar. It's not so much as falling to the lower realms, but rather the karma, this karmic relations will not pass on even if you are enlightened. It will be with you through all the time. Enlightened is just something that we know from this point on, that every action that we do will benefit the sentient beings, and it will benefit in the Bodhisattva way to spread the Dharma. And so from this point on, no more new negative wrongful karma will be accumulated. However, all the past that were done, that were accumulated in our storehouse, in our storage consciousness, will still be there, and it will still manifest. Okay, so the other question is number 38 here, is a very long question. So it's talking about whether an action is considered as creating a bad karma. So once again, it goes into what does an action do? Although the action is the same, but the thought isn't the same. So you're now bringing a different point. The action is the same, and the thought or the origin is not the same. For example, a leader is not performing as a good leader, doing lots of things hurting others at their back in order to get benefits for themselves. Okay, something that we are very used to. Unable to bring the team forward. Team members are frustrated and intend to change the lead. Okay, so number one, write a complaint letter to higher management on personal basis because they're very angry at it. Or write a complaint letter to higher management on the basis of needing the team to have improvement. No one is keeping personal grudge, however, due to the poor performance of leadership crippled the process. So the person who asked this question already understand that it is not just about the action, but it's about the intent as well. But the action itself is also very important. You know, for example, you intend to help somebody, but you hurt them. Okay, the intention is good, but the action actually hurt someone. So there's going to be karma associated with action. There's also going to be a karma of that intention. Okay, so one very simple thing that I could explain to you is your intention is good, but you hurt someone. So the karma is what? Completely to you. You got hurt, so you're hurting here. But then somebody tells you, oh, I'm sorry, but my intention is good. Same thing comes back to you. You're gonna get that hurt, but at least you're gonna know that they didn't mean anything bad by it, just by what you did to them as well. So actions are going to create a karma. That is going to happen. Your intention is also going to create a karma as well. So it's not like if your intention is good, you're gonna receive no karma coming from the action. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, whichever way you decide to do, always remember the things that we talked about in the very beginning. Always be thinking about sincerity. Always be thinking about, am I doing this to benefit the sentient beings? Always be thinking about, are you doing this to ask for anything in return? Are you doing this for any return? And then also thinking about, are you setting up good example for others so that they could learn And are you fostering good affinity? All these things are things that we should think about when we do everything. And that's what's called Samadhi. When every action that you do, you begin to think about all these things. Or when everything after you do them, you are contemplating and you begin to think about these things. Is this good for the sentient beings? Am I trying to spread the Dharma? Do I do this selflessly? Do I do this sincerely? Do I do this while expecting something in return? If you answer all these questions before you do some action, then maybe you would consider them different. Or you contemplate yourself, what have I done today? Ask yourself these questions, and that's called Samadhi. That way, you will be able to improve. And that way, you will be able to do what Master said today. Be mindful. Be truly mindful of the actions. And it's not just about the things that you have already done. Yes, helping all these people are going to create so much positive karma. Just like an action is going to create a good karma. That's without saying. But the true part about the wisdom, the true part of the traces of affliction that's still there that you need to get rid of, you need to have the last part, which is how do I to other people? How do you get others to do what you do too, to happily enjoy and happily getting this affinity and understanding and learning the Dharma? So that's the important thing. So that's my sharing for today. And okay, so that's my sharing for today. And once again, I'm very grateful. We're always having this very important discussion because Master gave us so much. But most important part is listening to it and think about this. It's not just something that you hear and it's over. No, think about it. The more you think, the more it stays in your head. The more it stays in your head, the less possible that it's going to leak out and it's going to go into dust. And the more stays in your head, the more possibility that it's going to become part of your action and thought. And that's how we can improve and not just stay in the heavenly realms, but we can break through and become bodhisattva ourselves too. So thank you. That's my sharing. And we're going to open up to the centers for the sharing. Thank you.
These teams, they are the representative task force who will select an institutional called Asrama Cahaya. Asrama Cahaya literally means hostel of light. So today, the volunteers will come from various community groups, but for today, our Kelana Jaya Dharma family will share with us. Over to you, Sister Michelle.
Master, Brother Joe, and brothers and sisters all over the world, morning. Today we're going to share on Asrama Cahaya, and I'm going to put on the PowerPoint first. Asrama Cahaya, like any other institutions that I'll continue. Now, Asrama Cahaya is one of the institutions that we took over or adopt in 2017. And a little bit on the history of this place. We were requested to care for the home's residents. And we knew that it was a non-profit home for female and orphans. And when we talk about orphans, what do we have in our mind? Probably children. But that's not the case. We have orphans aged 7 to 80 plus, and they have various disabilities, hearing, speech, and sight to mental impairment. And that gives us a little bit of challenge because we have not really come to any organization or served in any institution that has this challenge. And they can't read, but they memorize words and song lyrics. So that was much better. And our role is to actually enrich the 42 residents, their attitudes and well-being, maybe to bring them for mini walks in the garden, just to read to them, play games, and then sing some songs. So in a nutshell, is to give them a better life and just be with them. So we supported this request because, as usual, we thought this is create another field of blessing for English groups to seize the opportunity to create more affinity, recruitment of new volunteers, share the Dharma, mission, visions, and also put into practice the 6 parameter. And what do we do? Let me go through how we go into this institution. For the first session, we were a little bit apprehensive as to what we want to do, but eventually we caught up to what is required for them. And we know from the resident home manager that they actually eagerly wait for us. So the first session when we go in, since February 2018, this is the scene. Everybody is happy to see us, and we just have a hello session. After the hello session, we want to bring up the mood further, and thus we have things like, this is energizer, just some warm up like EPII. So a lot of people think that this is a bit childish, but I think we have a child in every one of us, and therefore we should, be happy to just share in the joy with them. There are some other sessions that we do, and we actually really don't know what to do, but we thought we can get some connection with them through musical instruments. But we only try once time. Maybe we should try more often. And they are happy to play the drums. They have never touched the drums before. Some tambourine, and also and this other musical instrument. So we can really feel that they are very joyful learning these new things. And of course, come to singing songs. Because initially we didn't know that they memorized the lyrics. We thought they understood, so we keep displaying all the lyrics at the back or on the projector. But they don't, they memorize the lyrics. And it's never too old to sing. And you'll be surprised that they belted out other songs like Japanese songs as well. Dancing is one of the favorite pastimes. We can't get them to stand up and dance, but just by swaying to the music is already an achievement. And here we have this variety of different disabilities. So we need to have some kind of interaction with them, which can all the residents can also be part of it. So that's when we play the Jenka game. These are for those who can see, but this lady cannot hear. But that's fine because she can see. So we interacted with them on that. This particular resident, she's blind. Thus, we have to use our wisdom to see what kind of things we can do for her. In this case, we get them to stack up the Jenka instead of playing the Jenka game. And here, periodically, we will have different things like stacking games, like stacking the cups, etc. But it's interesting because every time we have a lot of ideas, we will get together and find out, we have a task force to discuss what we want to do. I'd like to share about this volunteer called Nora. She came for the very first time. And she was, while others were stacking the cups, she came over to see this resident. And she did not know what to do because she's blind. So I shared a story to her about a sister in Taiwan. At the recycling center, she's able to differentiate the different colors of the bottles and therefore able to sort it. And I asked her to use these bottle caps and see if she can see the colors. And well, I think people who are blind, they use other senses as well. So the resident Lodu is able to achieve 100% correct answers, and Nora was very happy. And she said, we said that we should see their abilities, not their disabilities. And these are some more finger stretching exercise or recognizing colors. So we are always with the PCBC, they come along as well, PCBC parent-child bonding class, students and parents, plus a lot of Tzu Chi as well. Okay, in here you say we have teamwork games because due to economy of scale, many of the residents come from different convents, and they are in this area called Bukit Nanas. So we actually can see when we go over there that there are actually groups of friends in every corner. So we're trying to get them to actually, to work together. And now what I'll do is to continue, let Sister Yancy, I'm so glad that this year she's the coordinator, and she will explain further on the other sessions that we do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister Michelle. This year I'm very fortunate and given this opportunity to be a coordinator. Let me share further. Okay, basically you have some games and also art and craft session. With this picture is actually guess the fruits and through touching and smell. Basically, some of the residents they are unable to see. Therefore, we will ask them to put near to the nose and smell and guess of the fruit name. Sometimes, some incident that the resident couldn't guess the fruit. For instance, the kiwi. And when I ask them, is it a kiwi? What color is inside? Some of them guess it's brown and so on. So it's actually made us feel joyful when we have chance to interact with the residents. And thereafter, we will ask them to draw the fruits and then continue with the color. This is the pictures that they draw, the residents draw, and some of them could write, or maybe our volunteers help them to write down and spell out the name of the fruits. These are the pictures the residents have drawn. Okay, we also encourage our residents to use their motor skill to draw, to cut and paste the cuttings on the pictures. Therefore, some of them have no idea what to draw, and some sisters are very, very creative. They just turn on the mobile phone, using the latest technology to help residents to draw a butterfly beautifully. These are the pictures that the residents draw. To our surprise, some of them are really very creative, and they could really draw and color very, very nicely. And they felt very proud of their own drawings, their art.
I'd like to add in this because I think Rita, the manager, did mention once that they don't like coloring. But I think they were given coloring books, so this gives them an idea, for them to express their feelings.
Right. Okay, there are some young PCBC students also come over to help the residents to do the joining the dotted lines and coloring. On the left-hand side, Caitlin, she is my daughter. Every month I will drag her to come with me. After a while, she felt that, it's a good thing to do to help my mommy and also to help the residents. Yeah, basically, she would like to help the blind residents to help them to do the coloring. You could really feel the joy that even though the residents they are not unable to see, but they felt very good and happy that someone is actually care and love them. We could see the smile. Yeah, it adds up the color to our life, definitely. Yeah. So basically, the residents they are very blessed in their own home, and we also would like them to also give to the rest of the people who are not that fortunate, whereby they do not have any country, no food, no roof over their head. So with that, we'll want them to make some plastic flowers to give to the Muslim refugees during the Hari Raya celebration. So we have this handicraft session. We guided them to make the flowers, and we told them that their flowers will be presented to the refugees during the Hari Raya celebration. In fact, once they made the flowers, most of them would like to keep themselves. They refuse to pass it to us until we explain to them that the flowers that will channel to the refugees. So these are some of the cases the photos that we presented to the refugees. It's like love goes around from volunteers to the residents and to the refugees. We are also celebrating the monthly birthday. We started in the month of August 2018. Thanks to Brother Lau, that is his idea that we shall give them some joy during that birthday. So every month, started from August 2018, we are what we call rotationally volunteer to bake cakes and do up some cards, birthday cards to the residents, to the birthday babies. So on the left-hand side, you can see that they are so joyful that to receive the card, although some of them could not really see. And we have some surprise that this particular parent-child bonding family, they are so creative, knowing that this particular resident could not see. This young PCBC girl, she created this card with a wave so that the resident could feel the alphabet and could release, what I call that, touch the card and can release, felt that it's very hard feeling. I mean,
You can feel the design.
yeah, she could feel the design and it's very, very touching. So basically during Christmas time, we also asked our task force what to do next. What is that to give to the residents? Sister Karen was also very creative at bringing her whole family members, her nieces, her nephew, of course her son, to create a lot of what I call bags, recycling bags to put the soap, donated by some volunteers, to put the soap bar inside the bag, which individually create and drawn. Yeah. Normally before we end our session, we will sing our one family song together with the hands sign language. During Christmas time, we invited the residents to present to us. To our surprise, they've been practiced every day, waiting for us to come to present to us. Since then, every month they request us to sing We Are One Family and also Love and Care prayer song. With that, they have their own Love and Care prayer song sign language, which is very, very touching. So affinity and transformation. Greatest joy is to see transformation for both residents and us volunteers ourselves. Okay, for this part, this particular resident, she is very reserved, and whenever we were there, she will always stay behind of the room. And now slowly she accepted us. With that, because of that, we purchased this cordless microphone to bring all the way to the back to let the residents have a chance to sing their favorite songs and to let everyone feel the joy.
I think that's the one that made her open her heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The affinity, we keep building up affinity. This is a very, very special resident, whereby she didn't like us to touch her. She would say no, then we were very frightened to even go near her. So our surprise brother Andy, he really had this affinity with resident Yvonne, and she automatically put her palm on brother Andy's head. Therefore, we would like brother Andy to come every month with us.
I think since then she has opened to everybody.
Yeah, look at the face of the sister. This sister from the resident, and initially, I felt that a lot of residents there initially they do not have the smile on their face. By persistently that we are going every month, after a few months, we could see that everyone opened up. Their heart has opened up, and they have given a big smile. And they always say to us that, "Are you coming the next month? We are looking forward to see every one of you." With that, we feel very, very touched and very encouraging to come back again and again. So basically, by end of 2018, I remember Sister Rita, the manager of the home, she asked me this question: will you all come back next year? She asked me this question, but without Sister Michelle there. So without me thinking, I said, yeah, why not? We will come back. But after that, when I answered that, I felt so guilty that with no, what you call that, consensus from Sister Michelle, I automatically say that we will come back. But the Sister Rita, the home resident manager, she was so happy. She jumped out and said, yes, we are looking forward to see you guys. You all come back to us. Okay. Yeah, with that, that's the end of my sharing. Kanan.
I will pass to Brother La.
At the end of last year, Sister Rita sent Sister Michelle a thank you letter. And that letter, she mentioned that in the beginning, she didn't expect much from Tzu Chi group. She thought we are just like other NGOs that, you know, may go there for a few months and then sort of slowly peter off and then nobody turn up anymore. But to her surprise, the number of volunteers going to the home month after month have sort of increased along the way. And through the positive interaction with the residents, we are able to have a very good, we are able to create a very positive environment for them. Especially new volunteers who go there, they were very surprised that it's very different from all their experience when they go to other homes. And for myself, I can see that when we go in, you can see the burst of joy in their eye. From the very beginning contact, they are so happy to see us. And this is basically what she say here is the Tzu Chi group has touched not only the heart of the residents, but also the caregiver and management. They have slowly but surely changed the attitude of the residents. The song "We Are One Family" and the prayer song "Love and Care" have injected a sort of awareness and feeling into them without them even realizing it. And for at least a few days after every visit, they behave caring and loving towards each other. One might think small mercies, but when the average age of the residents at home is 75 years old, this self-change is remarkable. So if it's the right thing to do, it's not just the resident who was transformed. Actually, many of us were transformed also. In fact, because we enjoy the visit so much that many of us are also looking forward to going there again and again. Over the span of the year, sadly to say that 5 of the residents have passed away. And in fact, I remember clearly that I was standing next to these residents for most of the visit for that particular month. I was next to her most of the time. And a week after our visit, she passed away. So I was so glad that I had the opportunity to get to know her better before she passed away. And life is impermanent, and we need to seize the opportunity to uplift the spirits of all sentient beings. Initially, the home prefers sister to hold the resident hands, but eventually brothers are also allowed to. So we need to carry ourselves well at all times. Integrity, sincerity, and honesty. Loving kindness, compassion, joy, and selfless giving is the external cultivation for all the volunteers. So not everything works. Some of the things that we try are not really successful, like the bamboo bank. But we'll be trying a new approach this year to introduce the story of bamboo bank to them, taking into account that some of them cannot hear us, some of them cannot see, and some of them cannot speak. Thank you very much.
Before we go off, I think we will also pass to Brother Chris, who would like to say something. I think he's also one of the coordinator last year. So Brother Chris.
Hello, everyone. I still remember very clearly the first visit that we went there to Asrama Jaya with Sister Michelle to make a decision whether we should take up this new Hualien, Field of Blessing. And now reflecting back on that, he made a very good advice. Initially, I personally look at this group of residents, the 40 plus of them, as residents of this home. But as we go along month after month, slowly we find that affinities with 40 plus of these individual residents who has got their own personalities, their own characters, and their own habitual tendencies. So as we get to know them one by one, we are actually building up a whole lot of affinities, and we are all getting other volunteers and guests to come and share the joy of building affinities.
Thank you. They are really our pusa, aren't they? So I'd like to thank, on behalf, we'd like to thank all the volunteers who goes to Asrama Jaya. They are not able to be with us here today, but in spirit. So thank you so much. We'll pass it back to the session to Sister Tzu Chi. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, brothers, sisters, and thanks a lot for brothers to give me a chance to give some feedback. And first of all, thanks for Sister Michelle and Lian Xi and Brother Lau and Chris, brother Chris. Thanks for your sharing. So impressed that you go to the place where the person, the suffering people who cannot come out. Just like us who are so blessed that we can go and to transform their life. And it's so impressed that just I heard Sister Michelle sharing that we make the mission impossible to possible. I think is in the term is just like impossible when you make one dot is like I am possible, and not just your volunteer who are possible to make them to transform their life in the future, and you also make them to be possible to find out their abilities, because you see you don't see their disability, you see what they're able to do, and by teaching them, no matter you sing a song to them, or maybe you help them to do some handicraft, or like making flower, or some kind of activity which is quite can be immersed through the what they call is like gradually you are putting the right thing, the positive thinking to them by the way you have an interaction with them. So I think this is very wonderful. And it is same thing. It's just like I remember we have a painter, is the Mao Fruit Soju Huajia. In Taiwan, there's a Sekun San. I remember Master say because he lost his 2 legs and one feet due to an accident when he was a young man, and because of disability for his physical body. After that he stand up by painting and to change his life. And remember, we have a drama being showed this story history, and Master did say that for those, because he lost his 2 hands and 2 legs, and Master say 好手好脚, if he using his mouth to do painting. And Master say because you are having a 好手好脚, you have your, because you can, through your personal ability to get your income. And for those who are having 有手有脚, but you're not necessary to do the good deed. 有手有脚, 但是你没做好事也不见得，所以好手好脚，你没有手，但是你还是可以做好事。This is kind of teaching, giving for Master to those who are unfortunately disability. But this is encouraging for them, don't give up because your personal physical some are not perfect, but you as well as you are reaching your spiritual, and you will, as a rich person as well. So I think this is my feedback for the sharing from the volunteers, brother, sister. Thank you.
Okay, and that's all we have for today. Thank you all, and thank you, Masters, for being here with us. And that would be all. Thank you, and I hope to see all of you again next week. Thank you.